Welcome to International Definition. My name is Kenneth Freelain, and I'm going to be your host for today's edition of International Definition. Today on International Definition, we're going to feature the engineering tribute to the presidential inauguration of January 20th, 2013. Now, we're going to feature the city of McAllen, Texas, and the Anzalduas International Bridge as an engineering project. The Rio Grande Valley consists of 4 Texas counties along the border between Texas and Mexico. The valley's economy is directly impacted by trade with Mexico, and the efficiency of land ports of entry is integral to improving the economic condition of these communities. More than 20 years ago, the city of McAllen, Texas, embarked on a mission to construct a new land port of entry. The cities of McAllen, Mission, and Granjeno, Texas, jointly cooperated with one another when they formed the Anzalduas Bridge Board in order to obtain a presidential permit for the construction of an international bridge. The effort was coordinated with Mexican officials who simultaneously obtained their necessary approvals in Mexico. The Anzalduas International Bridge, located at the Rio Grande River, southeast of Anzalduas Dam and northwest of the Hidalgo-Reynosa International Bridge, was funded by the local entities, and construction was completed in 2009. The Anzalduas Land Port of Entry consists of a U.S. border station and toll collection facilities, a bridge spanning the Banker floodway and the Rio Grande Valley, a Mexican border station, toll collection facilities, and a road connecting to the new Monterrey-Reynosa Autopista. Autopista is a Spanish word for highway. The construction of the bridge expanded the existing system of land ports of entry in South Texas and reduced congestion and wait time at the existing ports. Not only was efficiency improved, but the new crossing provides the most direct route to Monterrey and to Mexico City, effectively reducing travel time by as much as 45 minutes. Future improvements to the port of entry include the addition of commercial traffic in 2015, which will serve the maquila industry located just 2 miles south of the crossing. So now, let's watch the video.
The Rio Grande Valley consists of 4 Texas counties along the southern border with Mexico. These counties include Cameron, Hidalgo, Star, and Willacy, and all but Willacy County share a border with Mexico. Between these counties, there are currently 11 international land ports of entry in operation. The city of McAllen operates 2 of these ports, Hidalgo-Reynosa International Bridge and the Anzalduas International Bridge. The effective and efficient transportation of people, services, and goods in our system of land ports of entry in the Rio Grande Valley plays a critical role in our economy, which consists largely of agribusiness, tourism, retail, and trade with Mexico. Our area strongly relies on agribusiness and tourism as its economic base. The agribusiness industry in the valley includes farming, farm machinery, wholesale and distribution, processing, marketing, and retail sales. The agricultural industry is the backbone of our economy, and transportation of the leading crops, including cotton, grapefruit, vegetables, and sugarcane, is of primary importance. The retail industry is also important, as our city of McAllen is the retail hub of the area. International shoppers account for 37% of our retail sales. And finally, efficient transportation of goods affects the maquiladora or manufacturing industry. The maquiladora program has led to the creation of over 200 Mexican and foreign-owned manufacturing companies to open large-scale operations in Reynosa, the largest city in Tamaulipas, Mexico, which is located just south of McAllen. These operations often share a twin plant or logistics operations on the U.S. side. So as you can see, the Valley's economy is directly impacted by trade with Mexico, and the efficiency of land ports of entry is integral to improving the economic condition of our communities. The construction of the international bridges has been instrumental in allowing binational opportunities to shop, sell, and conduct business. And in order to maintain the efficient movement of goods and reduce congestion and wait time, and in response to the travel demand from the Mexican national, the concept of the Anzalduas Bridge was developed. This process began more than 20 years ago, when the city of McAllen embarked on a mission to construct a new land port of entry.
This project was the 24th international bridge crossing, and it's the first international bridge that had been done in, I think it was 11 years.
The cities of McAllen, Mission, and Granjeno, Texas joined together to form the Anzalduas Bridge Board and obtained a presidential permit for the construction of an international bridge. The effort was coordinated with Mexican officials who simultaneously obtained their necessary approvals.
Started about 22 years ago, and it was a project that was really dreamed up by the mayor and the city council. And their idea was to create another international bridge to foster and hopefully increase trade and traffic between the McAllen area and Mexico. 22 years. You can't just build a bridge to cross the Rio Grande River. That's international boundary line. That is between the United States and Mexico, two sovereign countries. And so you have to get what's called a presidential permit. And a presidential permit requires a lot of hoops you got to jump through. We even had to get a permit from the Coast Guard because the Rio Grande River is considered a navigable river. And that takes years and years. There's environmentals that you have to obtain. You have to do environmental assessments, and you have to show that there's a need, an economic need, a traffic need to go ahead and cross it. And that takes a long time, and then there's politics involved.
The construction of the Anzalduas Bridge was needed to alleviate the growing congestion at the Hidalgo-Reynosa International Bridge, which at that time was receiving more than 40,000 average daily vehicle crossings in both directions, placing it among the top of all Texas crossings. The location of the Anzalduas Bridge was strategically sited to serve the maquila industry while avoiding the crowded downtown Reynosa traffic. This crossing now provides the most direct route to Monterrey and Mexico City, effectively reducing travel time by as much as 45 minutes.
Because of everything that's going on in Mexico, a lot of people don't want to go into the city of Reynosa. A lot of people coming in from Coahuila, Zacatecas, Monterrey, China, Nuevo León will use this bridge because it's the first one and it's right off their highway. And it's got a direct route over here.
The Anzalduas Land Port of Entry is located in the cities of Mission and McAllen, Texas, in Hidalgo County. It is downstream of the Anzalduas Dam and northwest of the Hidalgo-Reynosa International Bridge. The improvements include a master-planned crossing that consists of a U.S. border station and toll collection facility, a 1.75-mile bridge spanning the Banker floodway and the Rio Grande River on the U.S. side. This span consists of a 4-lane undivided facility that provides 2 travel lanes in each direction. The span also includes intermittent areas with an additional lane or bump out that allows for vehicles to pull into in case of an emergency without blocking the travel lanes. The travel lanes continue on the Mexican side with a 1.55-mile bridge connecting to the border station and toll collection facilities, and a 5-mile access road connecting to the new Monterrey-Reynosa Autopista, or toll road. Prior to commencing the design of the facility, a rigorous environmental approval process was completed. This process included review and coordination with the U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. section of the International Boundary and Water Commission, and the Department of Homeland Security. The Anzalduas International Bridge was designed by Dannenbaum Engineering Corporation. Construction of the facility commenced in 2007 by Williams Brothers at a cost of $28.5 million, funded by the local entities. Construction was completed in December 2009, ahead of the scheduled opening. The southbound toll plaza, constructed by Jimmy Klausner & Sons Construction Company, and the bridge building constructed by Rio Valley Construction were also funded by the local entities as part of the bridge improvements to coincide with federal northbound inspection facilities. This process included regular construction meetings with both our contractors and the Mexican contractors as work progressed towards the river on both sides. Coordination was especially crucial at the center span, where both ends of the bridge met with no room for error.
The barrier is the actual river. It was interesting in the fact that we had to establish the actual jurisdictional boundary, and that is dictated by the Thalwag, or the deepest part of the river. The river's meandered into Mexico about 20 feet, so we had to recross-section the river and find the deepest point. And at that point, we were able to establish the actual boundary line. Now, the common span, which is the section that goes over the two international points, was the last segment done on the project. And that was very interesting in the fact that, luckily, everybody's amazed, and that's always the question I get: how did you make the two bridges meet? Well, we did that through, like we said, communication and coordination. We simply shared data and made sure that the surveying points, we would do that on a monthly basis, make sure all our reference points all matched and tied in, and at the end, they did come together.
The opening of the Anzalduas Bridge was a success.
It's phenomenal. When you look at the original starting off point, it was a crop field, and now when you see it, it's a multi-million-dollar international facility.
During the first full month in operation, there were nearly 62,000 southbound vehicle crossings, and we continue to see steady crossing numbers.
On traffic, starting December 2009, it started off stabilized, maybe 1,500 cars a day, and then it started going up to 2,000 cars a day, and then we took that 20% hit, I think in 2000, probably a year later. And then since we took that 20% hit, we've gotten about half of it back already in 2012.
There are also future expansion plans to facilitate the addition of commercial traffic in 2015, and we look forward to continue to serve our communities by providing effective and efficient transportation of people, services, and goods in the Rio Grande Valley.
The bridge in Hidalgo is a partnership between the City of McAllen and the City of Hidalgo. In that original contract of the 60s stated that if we ever expanded, that we would have to have their permission. So the original bridge board, which is Hidalgo and McAllen, that has members of those two communities. The Anzalduas Bridge, which is a recent one that we just built that took us 22 years, that has members of the City of Mission, the City of McAllen, and the City of City of Hidalgo. And so what you do is you have communities working together for a common goal. In this case, it's about fostering and improving trade and creating jobs. They're a policy setting board, but what they can't do is they can't spend money without the approval of the mayor and the City Commission of McAllen. The McAllen City Commission is a parent company of both bridges. And so they have limited policy setting authority. They can hire a bridge manager, but the employees for both bridges work for the City of McAllen and are under the city manager. So it's kind of a hybrid type of organization that you allow multiple cities to manage a board to set policy, but at the end of the day, the one that has the majority votes, which is the City of McAllen, controls and determines what fees, what the budget's going to be, and who the employees are going to be.
I think one of the greatest lessons that we learned was we were able to utilize the natural habitat and the fact that we were building a bridge through a wildlife corridor, and we elevated the bridge throughout the sections, or throughout its entirety, to be able to allow nature and the wildlife run about. Secondly, the need or the abilities to be able to coordinate efficiently with Mexico, as they are our second largest trading partner, building a bridge instead of making a barrier, and keeping our countries both open and exposed to one another, and keeping that point of connectivity together, not only through a bridge, but through our countries and through our financial security, etc.
I think the more that you can get your ducks lined up, both technically and politically, the better chance you have of getting it done. And even when you have everything done, just because of the way politics works in Washington and in Mexico City, will not make you successful. And I think one of the things I learned is you can do everything right, and you still can't get things done because it's just the way it is. And sometimes politics is not logical. International bridges now are much more difficult. And even today, with the bridge that we have, and you take a look at, right now in the region, there's only one bridge that's allowed to cross trucks. And if you take a look at the congestion that's occurring in that one bridge, you would think that we should be having another bridge to cross trucks, but we don't. And the federal government, for whatever reason, has decided not to allow that to occur. And so, once again, when you think logic would prevail, it does not. And so we go back to politics. And so if there's one thing that's very frustrating for me, and I think for many people who try to be logical,
The Anzalduas Bridge was a true challenge, and due to the fact that we have a 60-foot bridge, 60-foot in width. One of the unique features of the bridge is that every 1,500 feet we have a safety or a bump out lane, and it's an extra 20 feet that we used, or that we constructed and integrated into the bridge to be able to provide safety for someone that needs to pull over, or a vehicle that needs to make a U-turn. That's one of the unique safety and security features that the bridge has. The bridge is approximately 1.75 miles long, and that in itself presented a great challenge in the fact that there was 91 bents, and each bent had 4 columns to them. This is what you see above ground is 22 feet of bents above ground. Underground we have anywhere from 80 to, on average they were about 80 feet in depth. They're 48-inch bridge columns that go into the ground and footings. One of the bigger challenges that we faced was the cofferdam that we had to do when we had to place the footing in the actual river. We had to place approximately 42 feet of steel casing and walls and erect a cofferdam and pump out the water and actually build the footing 20 feet in depth below the riverbed. That was a true challenge. That was something unique that I had never done and got the opportunity to work with and actually overcome that challenge was great. We had a Williams Brothers Construction Company was a very aggressive, proactive, knowledgeable and experienced, and they had no issues with taking on the challenge of constructing the bridge. The soil conditions were rather poor in the fact that this is the old river ravine, and a lot of the sediment, etc., gave us a water table that was anywhere from 2 feet to 4 feet in depth, and at times we'd encounter veins. We'd have to overcome that by putting casings around the drill shafts or putting bentonite into the holes, and it really was a challenge. Aside from the soil, first off, we had an American contractor doing a metric job, and that was a first, and it was kind of converting everything from meters to feet. Because this was an international project, we worked hand in hand and coordinated with Mexico. The plans were done in metric, and everything we did, we had to convert into U.S. feet and in inches.
Anytime, and particularly in today's environment, political environment, collaboration is extremely important. That's how you move projects along of this magnitude. When you start talking about large projects or projects that have that stretch over multiple jurisdictions, the more partners you have, the greater chance you have for success. The other thing on jurisdiction, we also had private partnerships in this bridge, and we had Ray Hunt, and his corporations and his companies participate in the Anzalduas Bridge, and they donated the land. So it's not just participation sometimes in large complex projects, complex engineering projects like this one is, but if you have private sector involvement, the chances for success is also increased. And so I think the other thing is when you start looking at large engineering projects in today's environments with shortness of resources, partnering with the private sector, partnering with multi-jurisdictions, and then asking also state and federal government who regulate you to try to look at how you remove those barriers so that it could foster economic development and job creation. And I think that's what we have to do today, and I think that's what the federal government needs to do for local governments and private business, and that's to try to figure out how do they foster growth and development versus hindering it.
After we open the traffic, we're now needing to look at queuing, the actual anticipated traffic counts, etc. At some points they're exceeding, and we need to add additional northbound lanes in addition to possibly opening a twin bridge to be able to maintain both a southbound and a northbound corridor to be able to provide sufficient safety for the traveling public.
Commercial traffic, because of the new highway that's coming in from Michoacan, there's going to be a direct route to our area. They're expecting about a 50 to 60% increase in commercial loaded produce trucks over here. There's enough for everybody. Commercial trucks coming in and going out, there's going to be enough for everybody. We need to start taking a regional approach to getting things for the region. There can't be just one bridge that handles commercial traffic, because they're not going to be able to handle it.
You know, right now, everybody in government and business is struggling with budgets. And the best way to solve budgetary problems is not necessarily only to reduce expenses, but is to increase revenues. And the best way you can increase revenues is to be very efficient and take all your assets and make them as productive as possible. International bridges between Mexico and the United States play a very important role in commerce between the United States and Mexico. In fact, we do $20 billion of business with Mexico. I believe it's monthly, if not more than that. So Anzalduas Bridge is very strategically located to be able to accommodate all the additional truck traffic that's coming in from Mexico. Mexico has decided that the best way to get into the American market with farm products, which Texas, as an example, uses 65% of all of the farm products that we consume in Texas come from Mexico. So there needs to be an efficient way to bring them into the United States. Anzalduas is an underutilized bridge right now because we only have car traffic. So to be able to have commercial traffic, we will need an additional line there in the bridge to be able to accommodate truck traffic, and of course the right to be able to bring cross traffic in Anzalduas. So we think this is a critically important thing, not only for our region, but really for our state and our whole country.
Today on International Definition, we examine the Anzalduas International Bridge between Mexico and Texas. We examine this bridge as a part of the engineering tribute to the presidential inauguration of January 20th, 2013. I'm glad that you are able to join us for today's edition of International Definition. And now, until our next broadcast, I'm your host, Kenneth Freelain, thanking you for joining us today.